Hi everyone, welcome. Today our topic is how to help people find the root of their issues. And we talk about the whys and the whens and the whos. Yeah. So many people, you guys probably experience it right now. Um, you have a loved one or two that are experiencing some sort of divine discontent. They're maybe depressed even. They are struggling with a health issue. They're, um, mentally they're just, burned out, and emotionally, they're experiencing a lot of turmoil. And as loving family or friends, we just want to go in there and, pick them up and scoop them out of that misery, right? Um, and that's our, just a natural instinct. But what they're experiencing is, this growing pains. And to be the best friend or mother, wife, to them, we need to guide them and help them through this lesson of love. Okay. Otherwise, year after year, their same problems keep growing and it becomes bigger and bigger. And in the end, it will hurt them more, right? So we need to be wise and support them now um, while we can before it grows too big. My husband likes to say, let the kids make the mistakes under our roof so that when they leave, they don't make massive mistakes out there because they never got a chance to make smaller ones here. So as they make, smaller or, um, medium-sized mistakes under our care, right? Your friends, the family doesn't have to be under your roof now. We can help avoid the big, massive, more severe pains in the future. All right. So how would you go about helping somebody? So think of that loved one or think of yourself right now, right? How would you go about helping? What would be the first steps?
Um, well, I just scanned myself right before the call, and my first oil that came up was Magnolia, and I'm reading a little bit of it right now, and it's show compassion. It's like validate like where they're at right now and be like, yeah, that's really tough, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Oh, that's beautiful. That's what they need though, hey, because we could say, oh, they totally, did this to themselves. And it's true. A lot of us, do it to ourselves. um, but we're human and that's why that happened because we didn't know better. Um, or we haven't internalized certain principles yet at the level we would like to. And then, we've put ourselves into this mess. And that's okay. Show compassion. Yeah. We just need lots of love. Yeah. What next?
okay, I'll keep talking, I
Oh,
guess.
go ahead.
Um, I think like share God's confidence in them and maybe like ask questions like,
Yeah.
what do you think? Like, what do you think?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know you're going to figure this out, but what do you think the next step is? Or
Yeah.
how do you think you can resolve it? The temptation, I'll tell you, the temptation is when we've experienced something is to be like, oh, this is what you should do. And I think like even you and I, Jade, we used to do that. We're like
Yeah.
so excited that we know some
Mm,
of the steps and the solutions that we step in and
hmm.
like say all the things, and that's not necessarily what they need.
No, no, yeah. It's not that
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And we all like frustrated because we really want to solve it and we already know the solution, and but they need to discover it themselves because they haven't gotten there yet. So I love that,
Yeah.
being confident. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Like lend them, like lend them your confidence or God's confidence. And
yeah. That's right.
you've said all of that
Yeah,
before. So,
yeah,
but I think oftentimes we have attached our happiness to feeling good. So when someone else doesn't feel good, it doesn't
yeah,
feel good to us. And so we're
yeah,
like, let's fix this so that we can feel better.
yeah.
And yeah, we have to separate
Hmm.
our happiness and joy from the growth opportunities that people are experiencing. So
Yeah. So we'll just say we are unattached. When we're unattached, then they don't feel like we're doing it for, or that they feel like they need to change now and quickly for our comfort. Yeah.
right.
So it's
Mm.
like take your time, figure that one out. I love that lending the confidence. Yeah, just being confident that there is a solution, that God's there. We already know that truth, right? And I think when we don't understand that truth, we panic and we teach fear, you know. So this way we're teaching that faith, that they can figure this one out, and there's got to be some solutions. Um, so prior to this, I think when we when we see them in that distressful state, we need to be prayerful and set ourselves aside, um, and then as we pray, we can receive this love that the Lord has for them. And then with that love, we can pass that love on to them and they will feel that compassion. So I think step 0 is pray and make that connection to the Lord so that you can be that instrument in his hands to support this person. And sometimes
Agreed.
this person, like, need to be alone. They need to kind of sit there and feel it, feel it all the way. So we may not need to jump in yet, even with our compassion.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, sometimes in my mind, I'm like, oh, but what if she thinks I'm a bad friend, you know? And oh, what if she thinks I'm a bad president and things like that. But it's like, no, not about you. Right? It's like prayer of what do I do for this person? And the Lord says, nothing right now. They're with me. They need to spend this time with me. And you're like, but, and then no, and then if they, the Lord needs you to, jump in and show compassion and love. Because imagine if you're going through something, um, and it's a little bit embarrassing, right? That you're struggling with this one thing, so whatever that is, and like you've got people like just calling and saying, hey, I feel you, hey, you're fine, hey, it's like, can you, no one, like, please don't contact me, let me just fix this, please. Yeah, I don't want anybody to know that I have this problem. So it might backfire even. So of course, that loving compassion could mean I love you enough to leave you alone. Yeah. But I feel like many, many times, it's just a hug, a cuddle, talk. Yeah. No, and recently my girls, they have, difficult assignments and things, challenges at school. And, I just say, how are you? You know, they're like, good, you know, things are tough. And I said, okay. And then, you know, they're like, can I just get a hug? And I'm like, of course. And just sit there and hug. And then, you know, just keep praying for them, but they don't want to me to solve it. And they don't want me to worry either. Yeah. They just want some love. And then, you know, the confidence that Debbie says, yeah, well, you know, I'm proud of you and I think you're gonna do well and figure this one out. Let me know when you need more cuddles and things, you know, and then just step out of the way. Yeah. Oh, they'll come back with some amazing things. They really will, because they've had that time with the Lord. Yeah.
I love that so much. I keep thinking of the safety,
Mm,
like the safety that that creates. Like you don't have to you don't have to fix it, but it's safety to feel what they're feeling and to safety that you believe that they can work through it.
mhm.
Like there's so much safety there.
Yeah, yeah. That the safety comes from feeling loved and
Yeah.
accepted, you know, fully. And while they may make mistakes in along the way of solving this issue, whatever they have, um, that is okay. You know, now you know, note to self, don't do that one again. You know, that wasn't a solution. Yeah. So, so one of the problems my girls had, they don't probably mind that I share, like they have this exam that has a heavy weight for their grades, and you know they've like reviewed and reviewed, and then so the night before the exam, one of them thought to herself, you know what, I shouldn't even look at it or touch it right now because you know, I feel like I read something about, you know, prior to the exam, if you look at it and you stress and you do worse, something like that. Anyways, they didn't look at it, and then the next day they took the exam and they got a high score, but not as high as they wanted to. And then they had this regret after, because they felt like they should have just looked when they felt that impression, but they were following some, you know, random
Mhm.
advice, right? And so they came home and they were like feeling worse. So I'm like, oh, okay. So you know, I thought, you know, should I ask them some questions? Because, you know, it, it helps most of the time, but sometimes it doesn't. But then I thought, yeah, let's just ask a few questions. So I'm like, so what did you learn? And they're like, okay, so just pray, talk to Heavenly Father, and you know, he was going to teach them some more, um, but they assumed they know better. Yeah, but anyways, there was another exam afterwards, and they did that. They did that. They reviewed the night before, um, and they kind of made some last minute connections. And oftentimes that happens. Hey, when you know about to do something that's important, and then it's like I just don't have too much time left. And then that's okay because within that small window, the Lord kind of makes this miracle happen, right? And I find that is true for me when I am like, okay, well, I need to prepare for this lesson or da 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 da. Well, can you tell me exactly what you want me to say? Because that would just save me a lot of time, you know. And then boom, he does, and you're like, yay, um, you know, not what I was expecting, but this is so much better. Um, it's just kind of forcing your heart to reach higher and open wider to revelation. Yeah. Anyways, that's what happened, and then both of them did well the next day. So the juxtaposition of their experience, they learned. But yeah, it's good to just show a lot of confidence and you know, watch them and watch them make mistakes. Yeah, as they figure things out. So that's just for children, but you know, for spouses even. You know, with my husband, he had a sore back, and you know, I'm like, I think I know what this is about. Yeah, but I just want to let him be, and you know, how can I help you? Yep, I can put oils on. That's great. I can do that. And you know, just supporting a few days after, it's like really frustrating because it hasn't gone away. And then you know, I just felt like, so honey, have you received any like inspiration download from the Lord from laying here and you know doing nothing? You know, so anyways, had a little bit of a chat. But yeah, I mostly just let him be. And then just the other day, he said, okay, so I learned something. I realized something. You know, I realized that the world doesn't fall apart if I, you know, if I'm sick and I'm unable to help. And I'm like, yep, it's still spinning. Yeah, learning to let go. And then people are very understanding. I learned that my boss is understanding and this other person and all these customers are understanding. So, you know, just feeling that huge weight of responsibility, letting everyone under the sun down. Yeah. And now it's like, hey, people can see that you're human and people understand. Yeah. Yeah. So, anyways, what else? So we've got prayer, we've got setting ourselves aside, being unattached, compassion, lending confidence in people, you know, helping them develop their faith. That's one of the biggest things. As you support them, you need to know that what you're doing is developing faith, helping them develop faith in the Lord, right? Helping them feel safe and accepted. What does developing faith look like?
I think that's part of that step of like allowing them to be still and ponder, like and like experiment on things and have trust.
Yeah, yeah,
I
I
think
love
it's
that.
reminding them of the Lord's hand.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like not everything's going wrong, like just reminding them of how, even if it's how the Lord's blessed them in the past, just to keep sort of that anchor.
Mm-hmm.
I like that,
That's
Lucy, and the remembering part, like reflecting back and say, like, have you seen the Lord active in your life before?
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and especially when it's a family member, like I experienced this very thing this week.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And just to be able to talk about all those times, because you know, my daughter here, it's just all the old stuff, the legal stuff coming back with Avi because she doesn't want to be with her father. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's just reminding her of the miracles that have happened in the past and just trusting that the Lord, He's going to be here this time too. He has a plan. He has a plan for Avi. He has a plan for you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I find one of the biggest things is just to be able to listen without judgment
Mm-hmm.
and not stepping in and just, I know that with her, just let them dump,
Mm-hmm.
get it all off their chest, and by the end of it, even they're saying things without you even having to prompt. You're
Mm-hmm.
kind of figuring it out while they're dumping.
Yeah, they're thinking aloud with you. Yeah, that's
So it's
beautiful.
allowing them to do that.
Yeah. So
Because
making,
I did have a habit of sort of putting my little 2 cents worth in every now and then. And even my daughter would say, Mum, I just need you to listen. I'm like,
yeah,
okay, okay.
yeah, because she's heard it before. It'll be brought back to her
Yeah,
remembrance. But this
yeah,
process, she's like figuring things out aloud, you know, and you know, with
yeah,
somebody there that cares, and you know, even listening, you know, without talking, it validates their issue, because their stuff is important enough for somebody to hear.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really beautiful. And I love that experimenting, just kind of as a higher level of thinking, of letting them experiment with their faith, right? So as they, spill it out, maybe they'll go, maybe this, maybe that. Or maybe I'll go and do this with him. But, yeah. How do you know um, that people have made a strong connection with the Lord? So if you think of a school and you've taught them lessons, and now we're assessing to see if lesson was learned, how do you know what's the evidence that they've made this strong connection with the Lord?
Well, I can use an example with my daughter here. She works at the Apple store, and she works every alternate weekend. She's got a lot of frustrations at the store. She's incredibly good at her job. And in the past, she's kind of felt like, well, in her role, she doesn't really have a choice, but there could be a possibility of a change of role. And I think this is where we're at now. In the past, we've talked about how important it is to have those weekends off so she can be at church each Sunday, connect with sisters, and that'll be a whole support structure for her. She just doesn't have that. And if Avi's ever sick every fortnight, that's a whole month before she goes to church again. And so through this whole process, she's realizing that she has just put way too much into her job, and she's suffering and her family's suffering, and that she needs to have those weekends off. They're so important. Taking less pay is far more important to be able to have weekends off with Avi. So every weekend she can be spending time with her daughter and taking her to church on Sunday, because all of this is crashing down right now. Where Avi's sort of questioning, she's in Young Women's, and she's kind of questioning God, and she can see that she hasn't had that really regular gospel life with her mum. And so this is what she came to the conclusion, is that there may be an opportunity in the business office. If I take that, I might be on less pay because I'm not getting the rates on the weekend, but I'm Monday to Friday, standard time. I'm home more for Avi, and she's working this out as we're talking. And it's like, this is exactly what I want her to say. But she came to that conclusion. So she's seeing all of these challenges and problems can be solved by, you put the Lord first, he will take care of you. So get those weekends off. It's going to be so much better for your mental health. You could even do some design work on the side that you've always wanted to do, photo restoration. Start doing stuff you love and you're passionate about. So there was just a beautiful example of her coming full circle, seeing it. This is what I need to do for my future.
So the evidence of choosing happiness, that's what it is. That's what you're looking for. Yeah.
Yeah.
So however she chooses, it's the evidence of choosing happiness. And, it's living this life and thriving and not just surviving. That's the evidence.
Yep.
So one evidence of them making a stronger connection to the Lord. Another evidence is of that connection and of remembering is when they have an attitude of gratitude and they're grateful for the challenge. Right. Yes, they're grateful for all these blessings. That's very obvious and easy to be. But gratitude for the lessons. Okay, that is a more mature kind of result of feeling this divine love from the Lord. When you have a strong connection with the Lord, you just say thank you. Thank you for this challenge. Thank you for this learning. And on the other side of this pain is a wonderful, bright day of hope and joy. So yeah, when I entered this challenge a few weeks ago with my shoulders and my neck hurting, I thought to myself, oh, another lesson, another level. Yeah, and I'm so excited to figure this one out, however long it takes, because on the other side of this, it's just another happy day, right? Just sunshine. Um, and, that's what I would like to see in people as well. Once they experience this divine discontent, they know it, but then they're looking forward to this wonderful, juxtaposition. You have to pay the price of pain to know joy in a greater level, right? We keep on wanting comfort, but seek for the lesson to be learned first. And then, of course, we all want comfort. The comfort will come at a greater level, and joy will come at a higher degree. But with that joy, we have power to manifest. Yeah. So for the people who are connected and truly feeling that divine love, right? We're seeing manifestation. And I was asking my girls about that too. I say, how have you been able to manifest things in your life? I just had a chat just even 3 days ago, and they were just giving me evidence of them manifesting, right? So we want to encourage the loved ones to do that, to choose happiness, to get into that attitude of gratitude, even when things are tough, especially when things are tough, actually, because that's what they'll do. Like Lucy saying, they'll vent, and then they'll find this gratitude, and they'll start listing and seeing the hand of the Lord and remembering, right? And then not. I just have this recognition in people. So like I feel like the more I hear God, the more I recognize people who can hear God, right? People who can truly know what he sounds like. And there's just this underlining sense of peace and familiarity, when people say, well, I feel like I need to do this, and the way they express it, I'm like, no, Heavenly Father said that too to me. So I know that you're hearing it from the right source. Because there's this power, there's this gratitude, and there's this high level of joy. Okay. So when they're experiencing this sadness and this depression and sorrow and stuff, we can, listen or be guided by the Spirit. But, eventually we want to help them choose happiness. Yeah. Just all of these experiences from my last meeting with the sisters at church is coming to me. So yeah, it's so beautiful. This girl, she says, because I was teaching this a little bit, she said when she was younger, she was not very strong in her faith, and she had this experience where I think it was a heartache, a breakup or whatever. And then she was crying hysterically, and and the family was just watching her, and she's moved into her room and she started crying crazy. And she said, I'm not that kind of person that's like, go to church, or I gotta go on a mission. I love God so much, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I wasn't that. And she's like, I was the opposite. And then here I am in my heartache. I started praying, and then God started talking to me. And she said she felt that love. And then she's like, well, Heavenly Father, if I do this, can you do that, right? And, after she finished crying, she fell asleep. And in her dream, she had visions of her future, glimpses of her future, so clear. She saw, um, herself in amongst missionaries. She saw her husband, her future husband, and her future wedding, and that her parents wouldn't be able to make it. All these little things, and she woke up like, oh my gosh, like amazing, like my life is gonna be so amazing, and she's like happy. And so she's like, okay, that was weird because a few hours prior, she was crying hysterically. And then so she comes out of her room and she's like telling the family, like, you know, this is what happened, and this, I know this, and I'm so happy. Blah, blah, blah. And they're like, are you a crazy pants? Because, you know, like 5 hours ago you were crying and, you know, miserable, and here you are like super happy and bouncing, right? You know, and I say to her, you know, this is you, you know, making that connection to God. And then, you know, making that connection to God makes you happy, right? And you can see the difference. Even if it's like it's such a short time, it's amazing, right? So people can't be truly, truly happy with all the advice that you give them under the sun unless they make that divine connection to God. Our sorrows come from that disconnect. So the solution must be to make a connection. So even if we say, well, try this at work, do this with your child, you know, take this oil, it's not the true solution. You know, when they make that connection to God, they can say, oh, yeah, God wants me to take helichrysum and use this and use that or whatever. You know, all of that will come. Yeah. But our true source of joy is to be at one.
I love how the oils put together the sermon that we need. It's always, every single time,
Yeah.
this is the sermon.
Oh, yeah.
And I've said that to my kids, to my husband, this is the sermon.
Yes.
You read it, take away what you think, this is the sermon for you. You put all those oils together. What is that saying? It's so clear.
Yeah, exactly. And it all kind of brings us back to that oneness. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So good. So we know this because we know about the plan of salvation. And then we have this inner peace about that. Um, and that's why we have this confidence in others, because there's always a way out. There's always the Lord um, helping us find our joy, and everything in our life has a purpose, and things will make sense once we make that divine connection. And I think as I help people, that's one of the biggest things I'm teaching them. And sometimes they don't realize that I'm teaching them about the plan of salvation. And I'm hoping that they'll be guided to finding that out. Because this life is not about finding the right place to live, the security, having the love and support of all our friends and family, having all of our health restored. It's not all about that. Or knowing which career, all of that is secondary. And once we get the plan of salvation down, though, all these other secondary things make sense. We know why we're living in a certain place for a certain amount of time, you know, to serve the people that are there. We know why we work in the job that we have, you know, all that comes together. So some of the ladies at church, I asked them, I say, do you guys know about that plan? Can you draw it out? And most of them, the majority, nodded and said yes. And I said, now, if you ask your children, do you think they can draw it out and they can explain to you? Because everything goes back to that foundation of knowledge. Yeah, and many of them are like looking at each other, going, "Oh no, never thought about that." Because we keep on finding solutions by subconsciously going back to that foundation that we know. Why do we seek to be one with God? Why do we seek to elevate our intelligence? Why do we seek for a greater degree of happiness and pay the price of pain to have that? I have a friend, and I suggested to her, because she was asking me about her daughter, you know, and I suggested that she teach her daughter the gospel. And she goes, but she knows, Jane, but she knows. And in my mind, I thought to myself, but I beg to differ, because she's not choosing happiness. She doesn't have this attitude of gratitude. And she definitely doesn't feel that divine love. And all the solutions that the mom was giving her were surface solutions. Go exercise some more, spend more time at the gym, take your supplements. But then she tells me she knows. And I said, well, how do you know she knows? Well, I ask her and she tells me. And I thought, that's still the very low level of, that Bloom's taxonomy, that recall, right? And I thought to myself, this is a big, big issue, too big to unpack today. So I didn't go further with her, but I just kept it in my heart. And I thought, okay, that's where a lot of us parents fail, because we think our job's done. But they're in their actions, they haven't learned to connect to God and be one, haven't learned to choose a higher level of happiness, haven't learned that to have that higher level of happiness, we need to pay the price of pain. And part of happiness is a connection to the human people all around you with this divine love, because when you have plenty of compassion for your family and friends. You're always seeking ways to serve. You ask for downloads to help people. We ask for downloads to help our family and our friends and in our own personal situation, of course. But yeah, there's just this beautiful, stronger flow when it's for others. And then your issues and your problems start to resolve along the way. And with our power of energy balancing with faith, right? We know, to read certain body parts. We know to read the oils, and if they test up for this oil, it's like, here you go, and here's where we want to guide them. Yeah. So when they're open to that. So after all of those things we listed, and they're open to that, then we can say, okay, can you, would you like me to tell you what this is about? So I had that opportunity today. I mean, not today, this week, with my husband as well. Would you like me to tell you what the back is about? Like trying to back out of something. Because we haven't chosen joy. We haven't chosen to see things differently, we think, because he thinks to himself, okay, if I work harder, work longer, it'll be better. It would be better. Yeah. He's backed himself into a corner. He, in his mind, he would like to back out from some of these issues, problems that his cases and stuff, but that's not the solution. The solution is just greater connection, more empowerment, more inspiration, a different way to approach it. Because we're learning to create with God here on earth. We're creating joy. So as we feel that divine power, we can do things with God, and the result is joy for us, joy for others. Anybody with thoughts and comments?
Just back when you were talking about, like, we know that people understand the gospel when they're choosing happiness. That really stood out to me. And then, like, the pattern of it, connecting to God. Well, they're choosing happiness because they're connected to God, willing to pay the price of pain. And I just pondered on that for a second. And I don't know, maybe you can tell me if I'm on the right track. I feel like I am. And to pay the price of pain is being loyal to God and serving his children But the pain is the lessons that he has for us in love.
Yeah, it's the growing pain. It's not like
It's not like he's trying to like inflict it on it. He knows this is like, we know that some things are good for our children to go through, right? Like, it's good for them to learn how to swim, even if they're scared, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And how do they feel when they come? I'm having this little flashback today at the pool with my granddaughter. She had flotation device on, and she didn't want to get off the second step. But as soon as we got her off the second step and she realized she was still above water and her toes could touch that third step, she was like, "Look at me, mommy." You know what I mean? Like, look at me. And I think that's what it is. It's like, are we willing to experience some things, even though they're scary and they might hurt a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
Stretch us, you know?
Yeah. It's about God training us to be gods, right? As we
Right. And then,
yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
I was just going to say, and then with those lessons that we've learned, we can like we can see other people going through it and going, yep, I like you like, that's when we can lend the confidence, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. So they're igniting that power, right, inside of them. And it's like you didn't know that was there. And then here you are lighting it up. And then, you know, that's just part of that growing. Yeah. So there is pain that's like unnecessary because we self-inflict, you know, when the Lord's like, stop, don't do that to yourself, right? But here's this growing that's healthy. Yeah.
Well,
Mhm.
it happens in the disconnection to God, right?
Yeah, it does.
Sometimes it happens in the disconnection. Like, when we're leaning to our own understanding and not including him, then sometimes our steps are going to be more painful than they really actually need to be.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I've got many wives texting me how, you know, they're just like, oh, I wish my husband, he knows better, but he just still drinks and still eats bad food and still this and that and hurting himself. And then he wonders why he's got this issue and this issue. And it's, you know, it could be unnecessary. All that pain is not could be that pain is unnecessary, and it could be much better if they just you know, connect their will to God. And that's the thing. The law of sacrifice is sacrificing our will, and we're training our family and friends to apply that law of sacrifice, right? We think that when we're owning our will, we're in control. But we're more in control when we connect our will to God, because things start happening then, right? Yeah. And then, you know, we want to teach our children, once we make that sacrifice and connect our will to God, there's this law of obedience where, you know, just be obedient to the inspiration that comes to you. Or, you know, of course we have commandments that we want to keep, but you know, there's the obedience of like, here's an inspiration, go do it. And then when you do, it's like, oh, this happened and who knew, right? Because the Lord is teaching us how to be gods, right? And gods follow certain rules to create. Any other insights or comments, guys?
This has been so good. Like the timing of the sessions that you choose to have with us is like, oh my gosh, it's impeccable. Like I can clearly see with everything that my daughter's experienced this week, as hard as it's been to hear her daughter talk about, I don't really understand this stuff in the church, and you know, because she's still only young, and feeling a failure as a mother, it's just gone full circle now, and she's seeing how everything is tying in. I'm seeing it so clearly now with her that it all comes back to, if you put God first, clear that Sunday, which she can, do these sort of things, it's going to help your daughter. It's going to and that's the lesson. That's the lesson in all of this.
Yeah, and if she's not sure that she's a good enough mum, she can check in with the Lord, have a little bit of a chit chat.
Yeah.
And the Lord will tell her, you're doing great, keep going. Yeah. Or by the way, here, do this other thing too. Yeah. So good. So can I have somebody just recap what we talked about today, how we can help people find the root of their issues? How do we guide them through? Just like a summary of what we talked about today.
Okay, well, I tried to write this in kind of like in steps, but the overarching message is that the answer is really the connection to God, divine connection. But so helping people find the root is, it's almost like just helping them. I don't know. It's like we allow them to be where they're at, but we help them kind of get out of their own way. Which I need a lot of that myself. So maybe I'm not the person to like give the summary, but
yes, you are.
I just
You're good at this.
I just feel like now it's so like, I think it's always clear to me. I just think we always forget. And that's why I really appreciate Lucy's comment about remembering like how we feel when we're connected and how we feel when we're not. And when we're feeling imbalanced or unsettled, or then we just go back to the drawing board and get reconnected to God. And I think the parts of it, I think that are important, and Lucy, you also help with this through your experiences that you talked about, is have a vision, like have a vision of what you want. Like, what does happy look like? Right? What does happy look like to me? And that vision is for your daughter to have Sundays off, have weekends off, right? That's happy. That's choosing happy, right? And it's also choosing to be obedient to a commandment, to have that off. So choose happiness, choose gratitude. And then what you said, Jade, is about like reflect and see how you're manifesting things in life. And look, if you're not manifesting stuff, then I don't think we're asking, our vision isn't very clear.
Yeah, that's right. It's a beautiful summary, Debbie. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's it. Because they're physical problems, like, my husband's back or whatever, my shoulders or whatever. It's just a clue to reconnect again, to have a clearer vision of happiness, right? And all of that came from, this understanding, this foundation understanding of our beautiful plan of salvation. And that connection means, feeling that love from God, feeling that light from God, doing our prayers and having conversations with Him, going back and forth, and then acting. Once you hear it, you be obedient to it. If He says move, move, go, go, do, do it quickly. Get on with it, right? And sometimes it's like, you got to leave that child alone. She's got it. I mean, this same problem happened over and over and over again. She fixed it the first time. She fixed it the second time, right? Now she needs to keep going and further that along. Yeah. But do I play a part in any of this at all? Maybe, maybe not. Yeah. That's right.
And that's why the connection to God is key,
Yeah.
because then you will be led to know whether to step in somehow or hold back, and just have love surrounding all of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just so much easier to like tell them what to do and then shorten that pain. Yeah, but at the end of their experience, they've learned so many deep lessons that we couldn't have taught them. Letting God teach them those lessons, and it can go with the husband and the kids or our friends, whoever. Yeah. And I've got people that book with me and want to have a session, for example. And that's what I have to tell them, because in their minds, they're like, okay, I'm going to heal now just with one and done session. But then, I keep throwing that monkey back on their backs. Yeah. Asking them, well, how do you feel about that? And how do we change with that? And yeah, them taking responsibility. And 100% of the time, it's people not recognizing whether they can own their agency more, their power. They think they've like tried to fix it. Oh yeah, I've taken this herb and I went to this specialist. That's good, but that is not necessarily using your agency. You're using somebody else to do something to you to fix you. But you need to make that change within as well. Yeah. I think that's why people stretch their pains a little bit, because they keep on not using their agency to connect to God and make that oneness happen. And we know when that oneness happens because we feel happy and we can manifest with Him. Yep. And when they're not doing that, there's nothing you can do to make them create, right? We just need to encourage that connection. Any thoughts, comments?
Thank you.
Well, what are we going to do now? Do you have any downloads as we were talking of where to take this?
I think for me, there's like a lot of decisions on the table right now in life. And so I think the first thing is to get that baseline of feeling like, I feel like God's there, right? I feel like He is, but do I feel like I'm anchored in Him right at this moment? No, because there's so many things happening. And I think, well, now I'm reflecting on what your experience that you shared with us in the beginning. It's like, I need to ask Him, like, what do you want me to focus on right now? And what can I put on the altar and like give direction to? Like, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think and that comes with having a vision, right? So clarifying the vision. What do we really want?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm going to speak.
Oh, that's perfect, Debbie. I'm in the same boat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Like I feel in limbo. Because
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel.
All right, ladies, I'm going to stop the recording and I'll speak more on that. So thank you everyone that's been watching and see you next time.